Okay, so I wanted to get started with just kind of a general overview of what this PANCE blueprint breakdown is, who I am, and what information we'll be covering throughout this video series. So to begin with, I know a lot of you are probably going to have questions just basically about this background I have here. I really like this to get organized. It's called Momentum. It's a plugin for Chrome. You just go to the Chrome store and it's a plugin. You can customize what's on your page and it scrolls through a different picture every day. It's pretty cool. You can make a to-do list in the corner and it'll show you like the weather and all that kind of stuff. So let's jump right in and go to the NCCPA website. And while this loads, I will tell you that I am Jamie Morosky. I am a PA student from Detroit Mercy. I do not represent the school, and I am also technically not qualified in any way to teach. But I decided that as I study for the PANCE, I also wanted to help other people study for the PANCE, and what better way to do that than to teach through a video series. And I think this is kind of a unique way to do it because there are plenty of videos out there on medicine, and I'm sure that for a lot of these videos I'll link to different resources like osmosis or Paul Bolin videos, and there are just numerous resources that people have been using for years. And I just kind of wanted to kind of combine all of these different study methods together in a way that you don't necessarily have to watch the video, but the video would certainly help. But maybe you listen to it in the car, or maybe you listen to it while you're at the gym or whatever. And my biggest thing is when I have seen podcasts for this in the past, there's so much chit chat where they give you updates on their life, or they tell you about what's up and coming on their website, or just general sidetracking of like, oh, I once had this patient. It's not really related, but let me tell you about them. And like that stuff is interesting, but when I'm trying to like high yield cram, it's not what I was going for. So with this kind of thing, that's exactly what we're going for, is just a really focused review of the really challenging topics. And that's going to be completely subjective from my personal opinion. So now, to get started, you'll notice I've just scrolled to the bottom of the page because the first thing I want to tell you about is where to find the information that we're going to be studying. So if you go to PANCE exam content, it pulls up this general information page, and the information that we're going to be going through is going to be for the 2018 exam, and the blueprint is going to slightly change next year. Now, what that means is the way you organize your studying might need to be a little different. But as far as what we study starting this year, the blueprint is going to be here, and there are several other different blueprints. So there's the overview one, which was the first link we clicked here. We'll give it a minute to load and open these other ones. So if you open all three of these tabs, you'll find all of the information that you'll need to know. And so basically this PDF is just the same exact thing as what's on these two tabs here. It's just a printable version of it. So it just goes through the system that's covered and what the topics are underneath that system. And so that's what I'm going to be using to pull video topics from. This tab here was the first, or the second one I clicked. It's the content blueprint sample diseases and disorders by organ system, and then the task areas. So this one is task areas. It's basically things like history taking, physical exam, lab and diagnostics. You get the idea. It tells you what these mean and how they apply to the exam. I tend to ignore this information. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. You're going to get a lab question and it's going to ask you what lab would be appropriate. You don't really need to read this whole page to understand that's going to be what's happening. This part I do think is really important. This is the blueprint breakdown based on organ area. And I think that this should guide your studying. So when you see that cardiovascular is 16% of the exam and hematology is only 3% of the exam, that should tell you you should be studying the heart a lot more than you study the blood. And you can kind of guide that through your whole entire study method. And maybe you start with all the really heavy topics and then you do the shorter topics and you wrap back around and review the heavy topics again. That would be what I suggest because that is the way to get the most bang for your buck. But you can organize your study content however you want. There will be on Savannah's website a link for 2 different breakdowns of how to study. The first is a 5-week weekday only breakdown, and that one will probably just be called like 5-week breakdown, and that's where you only study Monday through Friday, and it's very focused. It's just 5 weeks of studying. On a different kind of method is similar in how I organized it, but it's a little bit different schedule-wise. So the second method is 8 weeks long, and it's actually going to require you to study every single day instead of just Monday through Friday. But by doing that and doing it over 8 weeks, you can study for a shorter period of time each day. So it's kind of up to you how you organize it. I have created these things just because those are 2 different ways that I'm considering studying, and I thought it would be helpful to share them. As far as the PANCE itself, this is probably the most important part. So the PANCE itself is a 5-hour exam and 300 questions. So the 5 hours are broken up into 5 different blocks. That means that each block is 1 hour, and in each block you get 60 questions. So you basically get a minute for each question. A minute for each question doesn't sound like a lot of time, and it may not be for some people, and for other people it is. I will say that if you need special accommodations for timing on your test, no matter what sort of accommodations you need, that is arrangeable. So if you go to this tab, you can get information on that. And then if you have any other questions that aren't answered by just browsing through, they do have an FAQ as well. So back to the timing of the test. So you get a minute a question, and you're like, oh my God, that's 5 hours of testing. How am I going to do that? So they're not total horrible people. They do give you 45 minutes total for breaks. And you can take that 45 minutes and use them however you want. So if you want to do 2 blocks in a row and take 2 hours, and then take a half an hour break and eat lunch, and then come back, do 2 more blocks, take a 15-minute break, eat a snack, and come back for your 5th block, you can totally do that. If you want to just power through all 5 hours and not even take your break, you can also do that. But I really don't recommend that. That sounds like a horrible idea. Some other kind of nitty-gritty details is just you have to arrive 30 minutes before your exam. They require 2 forms of ID, whether that's your passport, your driver's license, your social security card, whatever you want to bring. And you need to make sure that your name on those cards matches the name that you have signed up for the test in. So if you just recently got married or divorced, or you've changed your name for any reason, make sure that all of your paperwork has the same name on it. As far as when you can schedule your exam and how that happens, the most important thing to note is that you can't just create an account on the NCCPA's website. Your program will actually do that for you. They will enter your email, and they will let the NCCPA know that you are eligible to take the exam. And once that happens, you'll get an email from the NCCPA inviting you to sign up. Once you've signed up through your school, through the NCCPA, then you'll be able to access the page where you can actually purchase your exam. Now, the exam costs $500, and you are able to schedule it 90 days prior to your last day of school. So for us, our last day is August 15th, so we were able to begin scheduling our exam on May 15th. That might vary a little bit depending on your program, how on the ball they are. If they don't let them know what day you're done, then you won't be able to register right away. But within a few days of that kind of time period is when you should expect to be able to start scheduling it. As far as when you can schedule it, there are some stipulations there as well. So the first thing you should know is that you can't take the exam until 7 days after your program completion date. Your program completion date is whatever the school says is your last day. So like I said, ours is the 15th, which means the earliest we can take our exam is the 22nd. Many people don't do that. Many people like to wait a little bit longer. And so you should note that the longest you can wait to take the exam after finishing school is 180 days. So you have 180 days to finish signing up, taking it, and hopefully passing. As far as what happens if you don't pass, I'm not entirely sure. I'm just not even looking at that. I don't want that to be even in my head. But in the event that I don't pass, I'll probably make a video and let you know what the process is there. Otherwise, I'm sure it's underneath the FAQ and you can look it up yourself. So that wraps up this first video and kind of lets you know just the basics on the NCCPA's website. I really recommend printing out this guideline or even making it into a study guide for yourself so that it's more condensed than 13 pages if that's what you want. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video.